Hey guys, did you know that you can create applique without the need for any fusible materials using just your embroidery machine? Stick around and I'll show you an easy and efficient way to create applique. So before we get started, I just want to remind you guys that if you have any questions at all throughout the video, to leave a comment below and we'll get back to you with an answer. And I also wanted to say thank you so much to everyone who has subscribed. If you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and click subscribe and be sure to click on the little bell icon to make sure that you get notified whenever we post a new video. So for those of you who don't know, applique is when you take a piece of fabric and you adhere it to another piece of fabric for decoration purposes. So you can do this with a fusible material, but you can also easily do this with your machine. So as you can see, it only stitches the outline, so that would very much decrease the stitch count of the design. So it's a good way to crank out orders faster and to increase your productivity. And it's also a really good way to decorate because you can play around with patterns. You don't have to go with a plain fabric. You can use all sorts of patterns, polka dots, plaid, anything you can think of. And you can also use fabric that you already have. So it's a good way to reuse things that you probably thought you had no longer had use for. So these are the materials that we're going to be using for this method of applique. I want to remind you guys that there are many ways of doing this. I actually have another video that I will link that goes another more traditional way of doing applique. But this, for me, is the fastest way of doing it on your machine. And we have a frame offset button that's going to help you do this very efficiently. So I'm going to show you exactly how. So I'm using a baby bib. You can use whatever blank you want to embroider on. I'm using tearaway because it is the adequate stabilizer for this type of material. As you can see, it's terry cloth. A lot of people use tearaway on towels because they don't want it showing through. This would be the same for your bibs. Also, this isn't a very high stitch count design. As you know, it's just the outline, so you don't need the support that cutaway gives you. You'll get away with the tearaway just fine. Then I'll have my size B hoop. I have my scissors for cutting and my snips for post-embroidery cleanup. And then I have here a cutout of my design. And this is going to be where I'm going to place it once the embroidery does the first running stitch. And I'll show you that in just a minute. So I want to talk about how I got this cutout. And there are two ways that you can do this. One is go to your software, whatever software you use, and print out the actual size of your design. Then cut it out and then match it with the piece of applique fabric you want to use. So in my case, I had this green piece of fabric, and then I would go ahead, print it out, and then cut it to match this size. That's one way. And then the way that I did it, because I actually resized my design on the machine, which means that it's no longer the same size as what it is on the printout. So because I resized my design on the machine, I actually just did a quick little stitch out of the first running stitch, and I just cut along the lines. As you can see, I didn't cut too close because we don't want the fabric to kind of stretch back. So, and then it'll cause like spaces in between. So basically, I just did the stitch and I cut out just along the lines, not too much, because the final satin stitch is going to cover all that up. All right, so I'm just gonna quickly hoop this up and then we're going to bring it over to the machine. Alright, so I have hooped. As you can see, my fabric is tight. Sounds like a drum when I turn it over. And I just wanted to quickly mention that this is like a terry cloth material, a textured material. So typically you would use the water-soluble stabilizer on top. But since we have the fabric, that's not going to be necessary because we already have enough to keep the stitches atop. All right, so one thing I forgot to mention when I went over the materials is that you will need your temporary adhesive spray. That's going to be to adhere the applique material to the hoop so that it won't move around. I'm going to show you exactly how in 1 minute. So now I have my design traced and ready to go, and I'm ready to hit start. I just wanted to remind you guys that I put my machine on automatic manual because that is what's going to stop the machine after every color stop. And in an applique design, your first color stop will be your running stitch, and that is what's going to mark where you're going to place your piece of applique material. So let's go ahead and press start and get this thing going. So as you can see, the machine has finished the first color stop and it is the outline of my design. Now what I'm going to go ahead and do is to offset the frame using the panel, and that's going to help me have space to put this baby on. All right, so now you're just going to go ahead and place the fabric as close as possible to the outline. So that was good on my first try. So once that's placed, you're going to go ahead and don't forget to put the frame back where it was. And now that the frame is back where it was, I'm going to go ahead and press start, and it's going to do the final satin stitch. Alright, so there you have it. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this tutorial and that you liked the finished product. And if you did like this video, please make sure to hit the thumbs up button below and to subscribe to our channel. And I also want to take the time to invite you guys to our Facebook community, Embroidery and Custom Apparel, where you can join me and chat with other apparel decorators and embroiderers. So go ahead and join our community. I have linked it below. Feel free to ask any questions that you have, and I'll see you guys there. Thanks for watching.